Hey there friends, Stephen Petasky here, founder of the Luxus Group. Thank you for being with me today. Today we're talking about actually one of our own products, something we've built. It's Ina Lake Lodge Private Fishing Club. Now, don't turn the channel. If you're not interested in fishing or the outdoors, then this is still potentially for you because it's not just about the fishing club experience, it's actually about building a private club and helps you understand some of the diligence that's required for the sponsor, the visionary that creates these. So if you're looking at any club, a golf club, an athletic club, a downtown club, you're going to get some really unique things here that are going to give you the diligence points that you should be checking into before you join a club. So think about this through two lenses. One is I get to share one of my great passions, something I'm really proud that we've created, and you're also going to learn how to look at a club and the types of questions you should be asking before you join in. Before we dive in, as always, if it's your first time to the show, thank you. It means the world to me. If you're wondering who I am, what I'm about, what this office we're in, this company, go back to the first episode. It talks about my why, which is very simply put, is to help people by giving them tools and information so you can make informed decisions on buying and selling and managing and renting vacation property around the world. So if you have a dream to buy a vacation home or you already have one, you want to sell it or upgrade or downgrade, listen to these episodes. There's really good content in there. I'm really proud of what our team's curated here. And most of it's come from you. It's the questions you ask us that we just put into these 20-minute videos so you can get way further ahead. Take the tens of thousands of hours we've invested into this particular industry, and you can learn so much in just 20 minutes. So please check out previous episodes. I think you'll like them. Like them, subscribe, share. That's really the only fee we have for this. We're not selling you anything, even though today we're talking about Ina Lake Lodge, which is one of our own products. This isn't something to create revenue. This is purely to give you information. So please enjoy as we dive into this show. Now, I should preface this by saying this is part one of two shows. So first off, part one is in the office. We'll call this desktop due diligence. So if you're looking at a club, you want to look at it through the lenses, okay, does it make sense for me from on paper? Does it have the right governance in place? Is it well capitalized? Is it a vision that I'm really excited about? But part two of you evaluating and buying into a club should be a sight vision. Seeing the property directly, touching and feeling the assets, understanding the experience. Bring your children, bring your parents, bring your spouse a chance to feel it so you really can absorb all that it's about, because private club investments generally are not about financial return. They're about creating a legacy of memories and experiences for you and your family. So to be consistent with how we recommend diligence happens on any vacation property, but particular private clubs, I'm breaking into two spots. I'm in our headquarters right now in Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. I am done my best to rep the brand. I'm wearing some Ina Lake Lodge swag here and got our bottle. Really cool branding. I think our team's done an amazing job with this stuff, but I left it up just to give you a little bit of the vibe, but there's snow on the ground and ice on the lake. Fishing season does not open up till June, so while this will be published in the spring, we will definitely go back and shoot an on-site video illustrating from the ground how unique the amenities are and what questions, again, you should be asking yourself and be asking the people you're buying from, but why you should buy into that particular club. While the episode coming this summer will probably be a lot more fun and more interactive, again, we're going to call today desktop diligence. So these are the things you can do by yourself in your home or office or an evening in bed with your wife to kind of think about, hey, babe, what should we be doing? Like, what types of dreams and aspirations do we have for our family? So these questions are very universally applied to most clubs. And of course, I will be talking about Ina Lake Lodge as the template because we have built it from scratch, so we actually understand what it takes to build a club, how to get it off the ground, how to make it successful. So first off, you're probably asking, what is Ina Lake Lodge Private Fishing Club? Well, for me, it's a really big passion. I've been going there for 20 years. It was owned by my best friend's family back in 2001. 2017 rolled around, they were going to sell the lodge. They hadn't been using it for a while, and they ran it as one of the best lodges in Canada. You would go there and you catch these really big, beautiful lake trout and northern pike in this cold water. So many people ask us about the lake. I bring up guests there all the time, and they're like, how do the people stock the lake here? How do the fish get so big? Well, first off, the lake is not stocked. Unlike most North American lakes, we're in northern Canada, the 60th parallel. These fish are descendants of the last ice age. That's how old the water is and the waterways are, but the fish themselves can be anywhere from 20 to 50, 60 years old, depends on their size. So it is a really special place about legacy, and we're going to talk about sustainability and of the fishery, but that's for kind of down the road in the show. But what it is to me is a place to unwind. I was never a fisherman growing up. I didn't aspire to be an angler, and I'm still I suck at it, to be perfectly honest. I'm not good. My partners and others are like 100 times better than me. I like it because it was one of the only places, especially the early part of my career, I could truly leave and escape and come back recharged, rejuvenated, ready to take things on again, because you're out of cell phone range. We do have Wi-Fi and things to stay connected, but you're out of cell phone range, you're out of the daily grind. It's a float plane access only. You're flying over the Canadian Shield, one of the most beautiful landscapes in the world, bar none, of everywhere I've traveled. And you land in this lake that's just you. It's you, your friends, the staff, and no one else. No one else can use it. It's effectively private water. So for me, why I'm so passionate about it is because over those years, the first 10, 15 years of my friend's ownership, I got a chance to go, and I would come back refreshed, ready to roll again in this world. But 2017 rolled around, and they were looking to sell it. I didn't want to see someone else take over this legacy. So we actually brought together some partners, including my best friend's family, the original owners, and 10 other partners, and we acquired the lodge together. And we pulled it together, this really unique version of co-ownership. And you can check out co-ownership. We did a video on this, so it'll pop up on the screen. You want to learn more about what private co-ownership means, but we structured it effectively as a group of partners buying this lodge with the intent that we would own and operate it ourselves, we would rent it out part-time, which would cover some of our costs, and it would be a legacy investment. And you hear me talk about legacy a lot, especially in private clubs. So as we discuss private clubs today, go back to the episodes. It's actually very important. I'd encourage you to pause this episode. In fact, go back, check on the screen, click on the private clubs episode, because it talks specifically about the setup and management of private clubs. This is meant to be a segue into a series of private club highlights where you can learn about very special communities around the world that operate these types of private clubs. We're using our own first because we know it intimately, but you'll see many, many others as time goes on. So again, go back and check that out. I promise it will be worth it, and you'll be much more well-informed to understand some of the language and acronyms I'll use in this episode. When we acquired the lodge from the Brown family, it was in pretty good shape, but we had a bigger vision for it. So you take this amazing asset and this amazing place in the world, and we just supercharged it. We invested millions of dollars with our partners to bring it to a whole nother level. Our goal is, it is the #1 fishing and outdoors experience in North America in a private club setting. There are obviously hundreds, if not thousands, of lodges around North America you can go to, from West Coast and East Coast and Canadian Shield and Lake Country and everywhere else. So we're not necessarily competing against everyone else, but in our minds, we believe we can be the best. And we can do that by creating this private club. So the history, what led us to private club actually was 2017 when we acquired it. We always believed we could take this fully private one day and have a place which again creates this wonderful legacy that my kids will be able to enjoy in 50 years from now. It's very hard to say that about life, about maybe a business you own or a car you own or a house you own, to actually believe it's going to stay in your family for generations. The reality is most of the time it doesn't. This particular one, we're committed for multiple generations. We want our kids to be able to enjoy this, and we hope and believe in 20, 30, 40 years from now, they're going to say, thanks mom and dad or grandma and grandpa for securing this amazing piece of the world, allowing me to enjoy it with my family, because the world, as it gets a little more overrun with people, this is always going to be a fly-in. There'll never be a road that'll ever go past us. And I can say never because there's nothing around us. There's no mines, there's no nothing that would create a desire for commerce to be there. And we picked it strategically for that because we didn't want to buy a place that was going to be accessible. So legacy, legacy, legacy. This is what it's all about for us. Now the shift from when we acquired it and started to put this capital reinvestment back into the lodge and its amenities, we helicoptered individual boats in, we helicoptered a hot tub in, we've opened up these virgin lakes, which we're going to talk about with this water that's never been fished before. We did all of this to not only create that legacy, but also to bring more people into our family. And we started off by just renting it out. So we'd rent out part-time to people from anywhere in the world, but primarily Canada and the United States, to experience this dream alongside us. And then this crazy thing called COVID-19 hit in spring 2020, and it messed everything up. And I messed everything up for us in a lot of reasons, but particularly for Ina Lake Lodge, when we're in Canada and the borders get shut down to Americans, which is our #1 client base, where the majority of our business comes from, and they can't cross the border for a period of 2 years. Only until recently have you been allowed to come back in. And I'm so sorry that's the case, because we miss you, and we're so grateful to have you back up this season. But it completely changed the trajectory and the path of how quickly we wanted to move this club forward. So with my partners, which I love and adore, they are amazing. They're super intelligent, astute business people. Instead of just shutting everything down and doing nothing, they reinvested back into the lodge. There was no one there, so what a great time to put more capital in versus show restraint. So we invested more money into the lodge in 2020 and again in 2021 when the club was not that busy, so we can continue to elevate the experience over and over again. And experience goes beyond, though, just the amenities. But that's one of the most important aspects with these remote lodges, because logistically, it is unbelievably complex. In fact, in this moment right now, there's a truck driving on an ice road 17 hours to get up to our lodge. Is the only time they can access, and they still can't get to our lodge. They can only get within a 20-minute float plane ride away from our lodge. So it is logistically, for a relatively small asset, a few $1,000,000, unbelievably difficult to set up and structure, but that's why we have to use this time, and it's so precious, in order to invest in these amenities to ensure that they're completely separated from basically anything else in the industry. Now, I hope that set the stage for Ina Lake Lodge Private Fishing Club. We are now in 2022. We're going into what's going to be our best season ever. Obviously, we've had limited history, only in the last 5 years owning, with 2 years being shut down due to COVID. But I promise you, if you're coming up this year, you're scheduled to come up, or you want to book, reach out to us. Let's get you in. There's, I think, 10% of the inventory left for the season. There's just a little bit left, because again, most of it's taken up by our club members. But come on up and experience it. We still have what's called a semi-private access, so people that are non-members can use it on a limited basis until it eventually becomes fully private. A question you might be asking is, why would we actually go to become fully private? And I've mentioned it a few times in the sense that we believe in this legacy aspect to create this remarkable experience, and we can do that better by limiting the access. But why would we do it? I can tell you, it's not about the financial aspect. It's not about making more money. It's actually more about creating a smaller, tighter-knit community where you have all the positive things that come along with a private club. You have exclusivity, you have sustainability, you have community, you create camaraderie, you have legacy. All these aspects are the things that are critical core values of me and my partners to ensure if we can develop this and foster this unique culture, we can create something that's different within the industry. Because most out there, they may be called fishing clubs or hunting clubs, but most times they're not exclusive. Anyone can access them, they just have that as a terminology. So separate the terminology of club, we're actually being a private members facility. That's where we are going. We launched last year, we've had great success so far, but I wanted you to understand the why. Like, why would we pursue that path versus just doing the low-hanging fruit way, it's just rent it out every single season. There's benefits to that financially, and there's other benefits to it, but for us, it didn't fit our path. So we chose the private club route. I'm gonna explain to you how we got there, the diligence we did to set it up, and I'm going to be, through an unbiased lens, the questions you should be asking me or any club operator when you go in to get comfort level on whether or not it's a fit for you. Let's start with how the club works. Again, go back to the private club episode. It'll explain a lot more details, but there's a few key elements. Number one, if you're buying into a private club, you're buying something. You're buying a membership. So there's going to be a one-time contribution. Usually it's called a membership contribution. And that can be any number whatsoever, from hundreds of dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars, depends on what club you're buying in the world. In our particular case, it's $20,000 Canadian. So it's a relatively modest price for the club amenities, but that's where we're starting, and that will increase over time, as most club memberships do. As demand increases and supply dwindles, the price goes up. So question number one, you're joining any club, or this one, what is the membership price? What was it, and where is it going? Understanding that trajectory will help you understand whether or not buying a membership actually makes sense. Number two, with the club membership, ask the question, is it equity or non-equity? So the differences between that is basically, if you're selling the membership at some point in the future, is there ability to recapture some or all of the membership contribution? Now, normally in an equity club membership, you're going to get 80% of the value that you paid, or 80% of the then value that you pay. So you can actually potentially go up in value with a membership, which is a great way, and that's the way we've structured Ina Lake Lodge Private Fishing Club. The non-equity version is called transfer fee clubs. Nothing wrong with it. The clubs have established this as a mechanism of revenue. So when you buy into the club, let's say $20,000, you're entitled to nothing on your exit. So your actual membership's worth $1, but $19,999 is actual revenue for the club. And that's okay. I don't have nothing against that. It's generally how legacy clubs are structured because it's an important revenue stream. As new members join, you pay this transfer fee to join the club. But just recognize out of the gate that money's gone. It's really important you understand that before you buy in. And sometimes you'll see a split between 50% equity and 50% transfer fee or something along those lines. So understand that question. Ours is 80% of the then value when you eventually sell your membership. The next step of being a club member, an obligation, is you're going to pay annual dues. Because obviously as a member, we're not relying on the outside world to fund our activities. It's our job as a member to co-pay our way to ensure financial health and sustainability. That's what annual dues are for. So you most commonly know like annual golf dues or your social club dues. Well, in our case, we have annual dues as well. Because it's a fishing club that's remote and not easily accessible, we also have a user fee attached to it. So you pay your annual dues, and then you pay a user fee to use the facilities. No different than, say, your golf club where you paid your golf membership dues, but you go into the restaurant to enjoy a meal. The meal's not free, you have to pay for the meal. This is the same type of situation, except that the dues are smaller for us, it's a smaller piece, and you pay a little more for the usage component because it involves float planes and boats and gas and staff and everything else along with it. But those are really important aspects when you're joining a club. Ask the question, what are the annual dues? What were they? What are they going to be? Another question to ask is, can there be cash calls? If so, have there been any cash calls? And a cash call is where the membership board of governors asks each of the member to contribute proportionally a certain amount of money, which generally is used to either make improvements to the facilities and the amenities, or potentially sometimes to cover reserves or deficits that could exist. Hopefully, if you choose a good club and you've done your due diligence, you're investing back into the future, not paying for debts of the past. An important part of your diligence. One of the key membership benefits is if you've bought the membership up front, which again is a one-time fee, you're paying your annual dues, which are annual, and then you're paying your user fees, whether you're shopping at the restaurant or you are using the club facilities, is it should be cheaper than market rates. That's one of the neat things about being a member. There's a privilege of membership, not just the amenities, is getting something at below market rates. In some golf clubs, it might be like a discount in the pro shop or the restaurant or something else. In our case, what we call membership pricing is effectively wholesale pricing. Because we are not trying to make money off the memberships, we're trying to generate financial health through positive cash flow, but not for the purpose of pure economics and generating max return, we charge wholesale pricing. So instead of having to make 50% margin, you can make a much thinner margin. So you get, instead of renting it, which could cost you, let's say $6,000 or $7,000 for a trip, it might only cost you $3,000 or $4,000. Quite often this works out to a 30 to 50% discount. So if you fish a lot, or if you're applying this to another club option, evaluate what you would be paying for the same type of experience. Same as relative, because we believe a club experience should be better than the standard retail experience. But compare what you're going to be paying for that experience beyond membership. It should be one of the special perks of membership is actually saving some money because you are upfronting, paying the dues and paying these membership contributions to ensure financial health for that club. And finally, although clubs are built around legacy, maybe we do want to stay forever, the reality is not everyone stays forever. Generally, there's an event, someone moves town, someone is maybe ill and can't use it, maybe it just doesn't fit their lifestyle anymore. You want to understand the exit process. Every club is different. So if I want out, how do I exit? Now, in a pure transfer fee model, you just walk away because they can't chase you for anything because 100% of your membership contribution is already gone. So you effectively give up your spot and you get a refund for $1 for your membership, and they go resell your spot for $20,000 or $30,000, and they get that revenue back into the club. So that's very easy. If it's a transfer fee club where it's non-equity, it's an easy exit. However, if you have money tied into the membership, whether it be $20,000 or $100,000, it'd be nice to get a portion of that out upon exit. So as I mentioned before, it's 80% of the value of the membership at that time. But you also have to know what is the process on the exit itself, because clubs don't sit on liquidity specifically to buy out a member at any given time. It just doesn't make economic sense. So what you usually will go is on a waiting list. And that's basically universal amongst all clubs. Read the membership documents. You can read our Ina Lake Lodge documents. You can read anyone else's. It will explain the exit strategy in your various paths to exit the membership and get the maximum amount of money out of it. Or in a lot of cases, you can just walk away as well. But you are walking away from some money, so generally you want to follow the process to help maximize getting some of that initial membership contribution out. This will be very well documented again in any successful club out there, because it's a question that everyone should be asking out of the gate before you buy in. Now we've established how it works, you start to get an idea of the desktop due diligence you should be doing before you even go check out the club. So you're going to want membership documents, you're going to want to understand, is it controlled by the membership now, or is it controlled by a visionary or some sponsor? How is it capitalized? You want to get a good enough sense of the potential of success, especially an early stage club, to understand that's going to be on the trajectory it's set for itself and it has a clear path to win, because that's ultimately the type of clubs you want to be a part of, ones that are winning and providing an experience consistent for what they sold you. But now, what do you get out of this? So okay, I'm okay with the $20,000 up front, I'm okay with the annual dues, and I love the fact of getting discounted outdoors experience. But what do I actually get? Like, why don't I just take that money and go rent the lodge 5 lakes over or in a different part of the country? It's a great question. And understanding the components of a club and the amenities is really the critical aspect. This is the thing that will sell you whether or not it's important to you or not. If it's not important to you, if having community, having amenities that are a step up of, essentially generally most great clubs will have amenities that are better than the rest because they're not focused on economic success, it doesn't make sense to helicopter in a boat from 100 miles away. I can promise you. It will take us years and years and years to pay off that boat. So just use it as an example. But it creates a remarkable experience on the ground. And because we're not in it to try to turn a big profit, we're in it for long-term sustainability, you now as a member get to access that amenity, which is better than everything else out there. So that's just one simple example, and I could do lots of examples. I'll probably do it on phase 2 when I'm up at the lodge showing the amenities. But what you get is something better that's elevated from an amenity experience at the lodge that should be table stakes for any good club. Because if it's the same or worse than other experiences out there, why would you pay all that money up front when you can just rent a better experience down the street? I want to be a club member so I can access something better and be super proud when I bring my dad or my colleague or someone there and they're like, holy cow, this place is awesome. Like, why is it so awesome? Well, because it's a membership community. We invest into our club to make sure that it's remarkable for us and our guests. That should be standard protocol, table stakes, amazing amenities, better than the competition. Another question you should be asking is what makes it unique specifically? So if it's a golf club or a fishing club or a lake club, whatever it is, what is it that's different than the rest? In our particular case, we've chosen the path to essentially secure the rights for a number of lakes in the Northwest Territories. In Canada, that's north of the 60th parallel. We'll show a map on the screen here where you can see effectively our fishing area, which is about the size of a state on the East Coast. It's a significant amount of space, which is only accessible by float plane, which we have in camp. So one of our unique attributes, because you know what, our beds are great and our fishing boats are great and our fish are great in our own lake and our food's great, well, everyone's probably pretty good to great already. What no one else has, or very few people, is access to many lakes, virgin lakes, lakes that our fishing rod potentially has never been in before. That is one of a kind. Where in the world can you say I'm fishing water or a bay that maybe zero or a handful of people or only Aboriginal people have ever fished in the past? So few places in the world, we're one of those few places. That's one of Ina Lake Lodge's special attributes, where members come to us because they want to. You can't replicate that. You can't be the first many times. You can be the first once. And we have so many lakes in our area, people are going to be fishing these lakes for the first time for a long time. So it's something that becomes our unique secret sauce, but you want to know for any club, what makes your club unique? If it's exact same as the club down the street, you're really going to be competing on price, but usually they have a special edge. They have the best chef, they have a reputation for amazing instructors for tennis or swimming or whatever it may be, so ask the questions around that to understand what separates them from the rest. Another thing of what you're looking at from a club experience is how do they bring community together? And this is really important. It's probably the hardest thing to sell because people, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that a member experience could be so rewarding and special. When you're in the club though, it becomes one of the number one reasons you stay in. So it's one of the lowest reasons that you may put on your priority list of why you would buy in, but potentially one of the highest reasons why you would stay in a club is the creation of this amazing community and access to these member-only experiences. In the case of Ina Lake Lodge, because we're a seasonal club, we run from middle of June to middle of September. We do things like member-only fishing derbies. We do these first-time Virgin Lake access where we fly a float plane in and fish it for the first time. We have these family wildlife viewing. We have these very unique experiences that are just for club members and their guests. that you get to enjoy for being a club member. Again, different ways that we can differentiate ourselves from what you just get at a standard kind of rental experience, and this applies across the board. In the best golf clubs in the world, especially in the new age clubs, they have just amazing, they got member guest golf tournaments, member tournaments, wine tasting, these culinary experiences, and you get to hang with the members and experience things together, which they do really a special job at. So think about that and ask those questions. What's the culture like in this club? Will I meet other members? What type of experiences do they have exclusively for members? These are all things that will help you evaluate about what's important to you and if it's a fit for you. And I would say probably one of the most important aspects is legacy. How do you share it with the people within your inner circle that are most important to you? Because once you're a club member, you're in a real special family. You're in a connected family, but you want to experience that with potentially your family. It could be your parents, your colleague, your son, your daughter, whatever it may be. So the ability to share it's an important aspect. This is not universal. Every club has their own guest policy rules. It is critically important you understand the guest rules before you buy into a club. Can I have my parents join me for golf? Can they use the facilities when I'm not there? Can my son and daughter play golf, or do I pay extra? Can I bring someone fishing with me who's not a member? Again, I won't go into all the different combinations of this because every club has their own different rules. Generally, they do allow some level of access, but some is highly restricted, like very, very limited. And some is wide open. In the case of Union Lake Lodge, we're in the middle. We want a really strong membership community, keeping it to members, but we want the ability for them to share it with the people that they love so they can experience the memories as well together. Now, when I get to Union Lake Lodge this summer, I can't wait to video a lot of these amenities. I'll give you a much more deeper detail when you can kind of see it and touch it and feel it. But if you want to come up, we do have the semi-private nature. We have a limited amount of spots to either join another member or come on a retail fishing trip to come and experience it. But while you're still completing your desktop due diligence, the questions you are going to be asking again to summarize are, how is the club capitalized? Who's the actual management company in charge? What's the plan for expansion? I like the amenities now, but is there going to be new things? How is it governed? What will there be future cash calls? What is your overall dream vision of this club? And you have to ask the people selling you the product. In the case of Union Lake Lodge, it's me and my company. So we have a 15-year track record of this real estate industry. So that would be how we would answer that question. How is it capitalized? We have 11 amazing partners that are, done a great job in their entrepreneurial lives to create wealth and have a strong desire to ensure we deliver a remarkable experience. So those are the answers you're going to get from me about our club, but you want to make sure you get similar answers or whatever truthful answers are from the clubs you're exploring. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. They should have the answers for you. And if you're feeling you're not getting comfortable answers or they're dodging about how things are paid for or what the assessments could be, it may be a red flag for you to do a little deeper digging, again, desktop due diligence before you buy in. That summarizes how you start the process of due diligence for a private club. Whether you're looking at Union Lake Lodge or something else, start with desktop due diligence, search it online, ask them the questions, get in touch with the salesperson, and you have to follow it up with the in-person visit. You can buy sight unseen these days. It's trickier, but it's absolutely doable. It's become way more common, like phenomenally more common during COVID because people don't want to wait and the inventory doesn't sit on the shelf for long. So buying virtually is absolutely possible, but you can organize FaceTime tours or videos so you can effectively get the majority of the experience while still being away from the actual asset itself. So we do that as well for clients who are looking at it, but definitely any club you should get that. But if you can go in person, that always helps. Thank you again for being here today and hearing about how you look at private clubs, and thanks for allowing me to kind of share my passion about Union Lake Lodge. Again, I love this place. I truly love it. If you think you might love it or you're curious about it, ping us. We'd love to have you up there and host you sometime this summer. Again, it's a really remarkable place in the world. But at the very least, I hope you learned something about how to explore this new way of living in this club environment. Watch for future episodes. There are going to be highlights around different private clubs from around the world so you can learn more and more about this. We'll probably put out one every month or so, but if you haven't seen the first video, again, one last call out, go back and check it out. It's really important to understand the whole situation around private clubs and why they potentially could be a fit for you. That's it for now, friends. Next time you're going to see me wear this sweater and probably my hat and maybe a little more scruff is at the lodge this summer. where I go and spend usually a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks every year. So I'll shoot some videos and reconnect with you then. In the meantime, continue to like, subscribe, and share this information. Honestly, for us, this is what it's all about. So we're really, really grateful for anything you can do on that. Until then, have a great day. We'll catch you later on the next show.